Alright guys, so Paul got me in front of a camera and I decided I'm going to talk about the Digimon TCG today. You know, I've been playing Digimon since its inception, the TCG. This TCG, not the original TCG. I didn't know the rules to that game. I don't think anyone did. Regardless, we got an update to the restricted list today, and I figured why not just give my thoughts about where Digimon is right now versus where it was and where it could be. So this is kind of like a good, bad, and ugly kind of video. I'll start off with the good things because there are definitely good things. Like Digimon, since its very rocky start, you guys might remember when we got the initial first set for Digimon. It got bought out almost immediately, and there was clearly not enough supply to match the demand. A lot of people wanted to buy and scalp the boxes. Many people just wanted to buy and hold the boxes. So it just made a nightmare to get your hands on product when it all first dropped. But really, ever since then, Bandai has done a great job of getting these products out on time and having enough supply to satisfy everyone. I mean, at my shop, we always have, we really have too much Digimon product, but I mean, that's like a local scene problem. But yeah, Digimon products have been coming out consistently. They've been coming out regularly, and there haven't been any notable like shortages. So that's been really nice. And when it comes to new products, introducing new mechanics and supporting old ones, I think Bandai's done a great job of that. We just had, well, not just had, but with the the last EX set and even BT13, we've done a great job of supporting older strategies. Like right now, you can see Shine Greymon, Mach Galgamon, and even what's its name? I want to say Bloom Lordmon. You guys know, I mean Rosemon, but it's basically Bloom Lord. But Bandai has gone back to support those data squad strategies that were barely strategies outside of Shine before now. They regularly add new mechanics to the game, even if they're not always stellar. I mean, we had the Alliance keyword added recently that lets your Digimon take on the DP of one of your other Digimon, and it gets an extra security tag. We've had the defensive keyword, evade added to the game. And it just feels like fairly regularly we just add something new, some kind of just new mechanic that keeps things kind of fresh, and that always helps to make new sets more interesting. I mean, even with Resurgence Booster, we got the fresh Gamamon support that finally kind of ties that deck together, and they have their mechanic of being able to carry their when attacking, or is it their when digivolving effects. Regardless, they can carry their effects into their bigger forms without it being inheritable effects. So another unique mechanic, keeps things fresh. I'm a big fan of that. But those are the things I think Digimon has done well. Here are the things I don't like so much. So number one is the increase in just the number of card games this year. Now this isn't Bandai's fault. This isn't Digimon's fault. Well, okay, a little bit, or maybe a lot of it is Bandai's fault. In the last couple years, we've had many new TCGs enter the space. A few of them by Bandai themselves. And so as someone who really enjoys Digimon, who really loves Digimon, I don't care to see the parent company of this game introducing more competition for it. It makes me wonder if there's a conflict of interest, since I mean they want to run Digimon, Dragon Ball, One Piece, and Battle Spirits. They want to run all those at one time, and it's not like we just magically multiplied the number of card game players. You could argue that One Piece kind of did that. One Piece brought a lot of people in from the woodwork to play that game, but I don't think that's the case with most card games, and so I do see a bit of cannibalization just at the local level. I've noticed at different locals, typically, you'll either have a One Piece community or you'll have a Digimon community. I've seen very few that have both, unless they kind of share players. But a lot of times I'm seeing either or. That's anecdotal. I've only been to a few different locals in the last couple years. But it's something I've tried to pay attention to because I am very invested in Digimon's future, and that's not to say I want One Piece to fail. I actually like the One Piece card game, and I'm building a deck right now. Well, of course I am. I try and build decks for every game. Just more card games in the space. I don't care for that for Digimon because I want to see it be successful in the future. I don't care for how limited the tournament scene in Digimon is. And I mean, if you guys know, I mean, Digimon does have tournaments. It has regionals. It has the Ultimate Cups, and it has the DC1. The problem is, it's really hard to get into these tournaments, but not really relatively speaking. So coming from a Yu-Gi-Oh background, I'm used to seeing that there's a regional in just any like one place or any area and just showing up to play. We rarely reached cap-offs for events, and you didn't have to sign up ahead of time to actually go. You could just drop by. And signing up ahead of time wouldn't be so bad, but when it comes to Digimon tournaments, you typically have to sign up at least 2 months ahead of time to be able to guarantee your spot in a tournament. And I and many other people actually find that very hard to do because one, it's hard to keep up with when tournaments are going live 2 months in advance because not a lot of us know what exactly our situations will be like 2 weeks from now. Now, for hardcore Digimon tournament like purists, this won't be a problem. They'll adjust for it. They know they'll make time. But for other people, they don't know if they'll make time. And so I kind of miss the very casual nature in which I was able to compete in in Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's so much harder in Digimon. Now, I did sign up for a regional recently, more recently-ish. I have a regional coming up in November, but I had to sign up for it, so it's October. I had to sign up for it in September, and it was like early September when I signed up for it. And even now, I'm still not sure if I'll be free to actually play in this regional, but I really, really want to. So I'm gonna do what I can to try and make sure I'm free that weekend, but we'll see. What I'd like to see from Bandai is opening up the application process for tournaments. I know one of the reasons why we've had so many like Yu-Gi-Oh regionals and it was so easy to get into them is because shops were able to host tournaments themselves. And if you were a decent enough shop in an area with enough players, you could fill out a full regional. It might be harder with Digimon, but we haven't really tried. I'd like to see shops be able to hold their own regionals just so that it makes it easier for everyone to go to tournaments. Now, I know there's things like population density and what about overseas players. I'm sorry, I don't have those answers. I don't know, but I'd like to see something change. I'll stick with that. I'd like to see something change. What I also don't care for is the kind of funky card releases that's kind of like pop up every so often. I gotta see what I wrote down here. Yeah, and these aren't all necessarily bad. It's just a little weird, right? Like how in Versus Royal Knights, what is that, BT13? We got the Ace Digimon, the Metal Garurumon and the War Greymon as box toppers for BT13, and that's before the structure deck's released, and it's like, well, it's kind of weird getting these early. There's no support around them. These kind of random black and purple hand traps, and you can see them as like, well, maybe they spice up the game, and maybe they could have. They, for the most part, didn't. Instead, they were released in such limited quantities, and I mean, there was no black deck really trying to make use of the War Greymon, and there were only a few purple decks trying to make use of the Garurumon. They were solid cards. It was just a weird choice. I don't even think it was necessarily bad, just strange. Something I didn't care for in the last couple years, the security promo Digimon. That was Impmon, Harrismon, Huckmon, and someone else. I'm forgetting the last one. Was there a Pulsemon? There might have been a Pulsemon. Anyway, the security promos that got released as I believe they were like tournament prizes. They got released. I really don't care for a specific promo. You know, it does a very specific thing, and it's unique, but you can only get them in extremely limited quantities in like one way. And what that often leads to is cards that were relevant in like the Japanese format during a time, but they may not be relevant for our format because we just haven't released them yet. I remember we sat on those security promos for quite a long time. I wanted to use that security Impmon in my Beelzemon deck, and that just never came to fruition. It just didn't. It by the time we got it, I didn't need it anymore. And I've noticed that a lot with these kind of these Digimon promos that they get a lot of hype, but then they don't come out fast enough for us to use them. That actually brings me up to my next one. The training options. Now I know we're getting those as box toppers in BT14 that releases in November, but I was playing like a mock Galgamon list or Mirage Galgamon, and the deck has some like consistency issues that the blue training option really would have helped like smooth out, but we just never really got it. And I mean, this kind of brings me into my ugly rant a little bit, but now it's been announced that they're gonna hit the level 5 Galgamon in that deck down to 1, and that kind of takes the wind out my sails a bit. Cause I'm like, well, shoot, because I kept telling myself that, wow, this deck's going to be at full power when I finally get this option card. But by the time I get that option card, that Galgamon goes to 1, and so now the deck will just never truly be at full power, at least not the way I envisioned it, and I never get a chance to play it. But this brings me to the ugly part of this video. Coming from Yu-Gi-Oh!, there's always been this outcry for lining up the OCG and the TCG's ban lists, but Digimon has definitely swayed me against that as hard as humanly possible. It actually, to me, doesn't even make any sense for us to share a restricted list with Japan, even though our formats are incredibly different. We get access to the same card pools, and then we play the cards differently. We've seen it time and time again. Decks that performed really well in Japan, they don't necessarily do as well in the West. They're not bad decks. Sometimes we have the same exact card pool, and then they still kind of flub a bit. I mean, I think my best example is the Alphamon deck, which was, people call it tier 0 for the Japanese format, but over here everyone was just like, hey, the deck's pretty good. Is it tier 0? No one was saying that. Nobody thought the deck was tier 0. No. And even then, it did not perform well here. Or it didn't perform like stellar here. And they still ended up hit on a restricted list because it was stellar in Japan. Like, it's mind-boggling to me because we consistently keep getting changes to our format because cards are good in their format. These cards haven't even proven themselves. And I mean, I see what Bandai is doing with these lists. They try to hit older, rare cards. More of enably cards. They try not to hit the actual fresh new stuff. But what that does for us over here in the West, they're hitting cards that are used in their BT15 post EX5 format. And we're sitting here waiting on BT14, and we're getting a list hitting a bunch of cards that hit a bunch of decks that Bandai's not even paying attention to because we're like a format and a half behind. Like, I don't know what's going on in Japan right now. I hear Lilith Loop is pretty good. I hear Where Garurumon is a nasty deck. But when you hit Eismon for us in November, what What are you really doing for our format? What, you're hitting Belphemon? Did Belphemon do enough damage here to deserve being hit? Of course it hasn't. It, like, what, we're gonna hit starter deck 6 Gabumon, and we're gonna hit the BT 1.5-ish Gabumon. We're gonna hit those two? Why? Because Garurumon's doing so well here? No. Because Garurumon's doing well there. We're just going to have that stuff hit before we even get to make good use of them. This, to me, is the ugliest part of the Digimon TCG. Like, I don't know if it would kill them to just have separate restricted lists for each region, or maybe you delay our list. If you're just hitting stuff for the Japanese format anyway, why not wait for us to reach that same point in our format and then the list goes into effect? That way, I don't have to waste my time having expectations and collecting the cards for decks that are going to get hit before I can even play them. And look, maybe I'm salty. Maybe it's just me. I know it's not, though. I know many people feel exactly the same way. And with the card game space being as competitive and crowded as it is right now, we don't need that. We really don't. So, yeah, I know I kind of like ended this on a sour note, but like, I really do love the Digimon TCG. I love playing this game. I go to locals for it every week. And, I mean, I go to locals for other reasons, but I go to locals more for Digimon than anything else right now. The game is a lot of fun. I just don't like what feels like a lack of care. That's all I got to say on the matter, guys. Let me know what you think about the Digimon TCG or Bandai TCGs or any TCG. I'll talk to you guys later. Pass turn.